Hello everyone, and welcome to your second royal reading today here at MadWorldTarot. It is a Friday afternoon as I'm doing this reading, and it is exactly 4 years since that infamous Oprah interview that really almost destroyed the royal family back when it was aired. It was a terrible shock to them all, and they were left reeling. And Harry and Meghan really went all out to land blows on particularly Prince William and Prince Charles. And they did land blows. They landed some very serious blows. There were accusations of racism, which they later denied. They talked about how they'd been cut off financially, the relationship between Harry and his father and his brother. The relationships were basically in tatters by then, which Harry was only too happy to tell everyone. Basically said that the then Prince Charles had stopped taking his calls. It was all very shocking. It was particularly shocking because Prince Philip was dying in hospital when this interview aired. And there's always been speculation that Harry and Meghan made a ton of money out of it. It's never been proved. It has been speculated. Of course, Oprah later on seemed to have some regrets, and it's quite hard to actually find the interview now if you go looking for it. Of course, 17 lies were very soon debunked. The Queen came out with that famous Recollections May Vary comment, and it soon lost its sting. But Jenny Bond has been talking about it in the Mirror newspaper, and she talks about it as a bloodletting move. Harry and Meghan's bloodletting move. That's almost impossible. In fact, she said it's impossible to repair. And she said basically that the interview did irreconcilable damage to Harry's relationship with his father and with his brother, that it was a breach of trust that will be impossible to repair. She believes that the Sussexes don't regret the interview. And she says, and I'm quoting, they had a lot to get off their chests. And this was a spectacular bloodletting, which probably felt good. I'm going to do a reading now with the Soulless Tarot. I think very appropriate tarot for this reading. 4 years later, we're going to look at how it's gone for Harry and Meghan, how they felt at the time. This bloodletting, as Jenny Bond calls it, that felt good to them. She reckons it felt good to them then, and they don't care now. But I want to know if anything has changed. If either of them, I'm going to read them separately in this reading, if either of them regrets that interview. I'm going to ask about the impact that that interview had on family relationships with the royals, of course, for Harry, for Meghan. I doubt that Meghan cared, but for Harry, it cost him his brother and his father way back when. In particular, cost other relationships too, Queen and Prince Philip, but they are no longer with us. So we're going to look at the ones that are with us still. The public, how did it impact the public? How did the public's opinion of Harry and Meghan change as a result of this interview? And was this a fatal mistake, or was it a good idea? The outcome card I'm going to ask is, was this a big turning point for Harry and Meghan in terms of negative, sending them on a negative path? Or is it something that they still think, well, we did well out of that. We aired our grievances. Everyone felt sorry for us. Shocked the royal family. Royal family almost collapsed at that point. And it looked that bad the next day. Reading the newspaper headlines, it looks like it might be all over for the British royal family. They survived. Now it looks like it could be all over for Harry and Meghan. Interesting how time has passed. If you can hear crunching in the background, that is Fluffy. I need to squeeze another card in on each side somehow. So we'll manage to do that. Scooching. We're always scooching here. And do that, and then of course the outcome of this rather odd looking reading is good idea or bad idea. Was it a turning point for them that set things on a wrong path? And our underlying energy is the Two of Swords. that's turning point energy. It's literally turning point. And when you get the Two of Swords and it's upright like that, the way I read it anyway, and let's remind you, this is tarot and it's for fun and entertainment, and it is all my opinion. It's all speculation, just me reading energy. Disclaimer in the box below. So when I read that card, that Two of Swords upright, I read it as you've reached a turning point in your life, a crossroads, and you can go one of two ways. You're not sure how it's going to go. They had the opportunity to delay that interview out of respect for Prince Philip. They claimed that they were being it was a kind of a game, a ruse, that Prince Philip was in such poor health to stop them from airing the interview. So they went ahead. They didn't believe what they were being told. And then, of course, Prince Philip passed away, which was not a good look for Harry and Meghan, of course. But there it is. It's that Two of Swords energy of reaching that crossroads, that moment where you have to act, you have to decide something, and whatever you do afterwards colours everything else that follows. It's a very decisive moment, that Two of Swords, and it was for them, for me, a very negative turning point. But we're going to see what the cards want to tell us today, these soulless tarot cards. Situation. Harry's here, Meghan's there. Just by the way, the situation, King of Swords, that's Prince Philip. Even though it looks like the Ginger Winter, the King of Swords was Prince Philip. He was the Gemini, he was the air sign. He was the one, he was the brains of the operation. He was the one who ran the family. They all fell into line. He said, do this, do that, and they obeyed orders. Basically, that was his charge that the Queen had given him to run the family. And when he was good and strong and powerful, the family ran along much better lines than it ran along or has run along since, in many people's opinion, including mine. So there he is. He's showing up. It's also interestingly, could be Oprah, another air sign, Aquarius, her interview, broadcasting, that kind of energy that's in the King of Swords as well. So it's almost like these two are dueling in the energy, which is quite strange, I have to say. It's bringing him back to prominence because people are talking about it. And I almost thought to do a reading on how he would be feeling about this now. It felt somewhat disrespectful. I thought, I'm sure his energy is going to come through anyway. It's come through. It's come through right here in the heart of the reading about what this really was about disrespecting everything that he stood for, the sacrifices that he made, the strategies, the plans that he had put in place for the royal family to keep them powerful, to keep them going, which Harry, in my opinion, stupidity, did not understand, fully appreciate at the time. Let's look at Harry back then. As Jenny Bond said, it probably felt good saying all the things that he said about his family. How did it feel back then for Harry? 10 of Pentacles, and it's in reverse, as having a go at the royal family, which is 10 of Pentacles, the legacy, the money, the status, the privilege, all of that. Feeling very aggrieved. He was only too happy to tell everyone how he'd been cut off financially and was forced to earn his own living and sign that Netflix deal. Feeling very, very angry about the way he felt he had been cut out of the royal family financially. It's about the money. It's about the status. It's about the fact that his brother, his older brother, had access to all that money. He was going to be king and he was just a nothing. He was just a spare. He was very aggrieved by this notion. 10 of Pentacles in reverse. And we suspect that it's because who was whispering in his ear about how aggrieved he should feel and he should go to America and become a billionaire, because he was only a millionaire when she finally discovered what his worth was. How did she feel back then? And we've got the 3 of Pentacles in reverse, and this says, I'm not playing by the rules. I'm not part of your team. It's interesting that it's 3 women in this 3 of Pentacles: the Queen, Sophie, Catherine, the now Princess of Wales. She said, I'm not part of that. I don't belong with them. They've shunned me, didn't lend me lipstick, lip gloss, didn't take me shopping in the car so that I could get my backgrid paps lined up to take the photo, didn't hold hands at Wimbledon. They're no friends of mine. I'm not part of that group. And she wanted to make that point. She wanted to make the point that she wasn't included, she wasn't involved, she wasn't treated equally. This is her perception, not my perception. I'm reading energy. I'm describing the energy that's coming through for me, that they were not team players, but she, of course, was the ultimate non-team player. She wanted all the attention, all the glory. She wanted to modernize the royal family. She wanted it to operate along the lines that she had chosen. She had decided it should operate along the lines of, not, sorry about my grammar being mangled, not the lines that this King of Swords had decreed, put down as the template that they should follow. How does Harry feel now? 4 years later, does he feel so good about this? Still always a little bit of, shouldn't have done that. Knight of Cups in reverse. Oops. A big oops. That's Prince William. Knight of Cups. Lost him. Upset. Didn't think that one through. Didn't think that Prince William would turn so cold. Turn his heart away from Harry, close his heart to Prince Harry. Never saw that one coming. Didn't think it through. Didn't realize the consequences because he was so invested in this Ten of Pentacles in reverse that he didn't think about the human aspect of it, the damage he was doing to his closest relatives, to those relationships that you can't, once you've burned them down, you can't rebuild them. Trust gone, as this article said. There is the trust gone. The Knight of Cups wants nothing to do with him. Harry should really apologize. The Knight of Cups indicates a need to try and kiss and make up, so to speak. But it's in reverse, not prepared to, doesn't know how to, might have tried, but might have tried in awkward and stupid ways, childish ways, ways that made things worse. Those kinds of people who have stunted sort of emotional growth, never really matured. They don't know how to say sorry. They don't know how to fix things that are broken, fix things that they have broken. It's one of the great tragedies of life if you're dealing with that kind of a person with that kind of arrested development, in my opinion. They just don't know how to fix things. And Harry doesn't know how to fix this. And Prince William, at this point, not interested in having this fixed. How about Meghan? Does Meghan look back and think, maybe that wasn't the cleverest thing to do? Is she capable of that level of awareness? And we got the Eight of Swords, and it's in reverse. She thinks that she got herself out of a negative, toxic situation by doing this interview. Upright, the Eight of Swords is a trap, a very difficult situation. She hated being in the royal family because she couldn't control it, because she'd realized very quickly, she'd realized what it meant. It meant curtsying to people she couldn't stand. It meant always having to follow people who were always going to be more important than her. It meant not having access to money and bling and status and stuff that she thought she was going to have access to. She wanted out, and this was the way out. This was blowing up this whole thing, burning every bridge, being as toxic as possible to get herself out of this situation that she had got herself into, I think almost unwittingly. I don't think she really understood what she was getting herself into. And the Two of Swords tells me that it's an inability to see down the long road into the future and kind of strategize and understand consequences, unlike what this man could do and did do. So I think she's pleased with herself still. She thinks, well, that got me out of that mess. I can never go back there, and Harry can never go back there either. We're free. We've liberated ourselves, and it's over, and it will always be over. I think it's not a nice card. It's not nice energy, but it's done. It did what it needed to do, the bloodletting, as it was described, with the catastrophic consequences, irreversible damage to those relationships, to Harry's relationships. So let's look at Harry now and look at those relationships. We've already had one of them show up with a Knight of Cups. It could also equally just be his father, by the way, who was then Prince Charles, would have been Knight of Cups. So whatever I said about William, you can apply equally to Prince Charles, the then Prince Charles. Damage to Harry's relationships. Tell us about that. We've already spoken to that in this reading, but what else can we say? The Knight of Pentacles. He has shown up now in reverse. He who should have been loyal, who should have been steady, who should have been honourable, who should have been there for the long haul, invested in the family, side by side with them, doing the hard stuff, showing up with them, duty, responsibility, all of that stuff. In reverse, being unreliable, being reckless with trust, being only interested in self-aggrandizement, in money, chasing the money. That would be the Knight of Coins in reverse, chasing money instead of doing his duty. It showed who he was to his family, basically. And again, with all of these cards in reverse over here, I say all of them like there's hundreds of them, but these three cards in reverse show how motivated he was by money and status and how he has done this irreversible damage, in my opinion, and also Jenny Bond's. But she seemed to think it's fine, and the Sussexes are off living a good life in California. She is quite a sugar. We just need to note. Just by the way, Meghan, her connection with the royal family, relationships with the royal family, she didn't really have any. I don't think she was really interested in forming any relationships with any of the royals, genuine relationships. That's my personal opinion. But let's see what happened there with her. We've got the Five of Cups, and it's in reverse. The Five of Cups is regret, is pain, is sorrow, being fixated on things that are lost. So she might have felt quite aggrieved that Catherine didn't become her bestie, that some of the people in the royal staff like Angela Kelly weren't that welcoming to her, some of the ladies in waiting and things like that weren't. She might have felt that welcoming to her. It might have hurt her, might have hurt her feelings. Five of Cups, but it's in reverse. It's like, who cares? Got over it. And the sense that I'm getting here is, wasn't really that invested, didn't really care, glad I'm free of them now. I was never really going to be part of that gang, not unless they put me top, and they sort of bowed and scraped and did lots of public fawning over the hugging and the sharing the lipstick and the hand holding and all of that stuff that she wanted. A show of connection, but not a reality of connection. She's over it. It's done. She felt hurt because, of course, hurt feelings, not understanding other people's capacity for being hurt. She felt hurt. She's over it. She's moved on. Let's look at the public now and the public perception of Prince Harry. What did it do to the public's perception of Prince Harry? This thing, we got the Eight of Wands in reverse, and the Eight of Wands is messaging, communication, positive communication when it's upright, the Eight of Wands, negative communication when it's in reverse, progress blocked, the sense that they're just tired of hearing him whinge. That's when it started, this whole thing, this whole woe is me thing, and saying nasty things about people. People were like, really, just stop it. Just stop doing that. Nobody's interested. Everybody's got problems in their lives. You don't have to bang on and on about it. That is where things went wrong for him. That he went from being the fun guy that people would like to hang out with if they had a choice, to who needs this whinger around. And of course South Park picked up on it, and that was the end of that for Harry and Meghan. But it blocked his progress. It was just, people wanted him to shut down. Stop it. Don't do this. We don't like it. We don't want to hear this messaging from you. That's the Eight of Wands in reverse. What about herself and the public? How did that go? We got the Ace of Swords, and this is the My Truth moment. This is how the My Truth thing started. and that people started to realize that she wasn't shy about expressing herself. She was going to say things that were very harsh, very cruel, very direct, and there were lots of threats around then about how she had found her diary and she'd made notes and she was going to go back on social media, and there were sort of real threats of truth telling. It was all coming. And there might have been people in this moment who believed it, because the card is upright, the Ace of Swords, that people really saw her quite differently, as quite vicious, but in a directed, truth-telling way. It took a while for that, almost that barometer to kind of, the needle to shift on that truth-telling. So in the moment, they wanted Harry to shut up. They didn't like what Harry had to say, but there were a lot of people listening to what she had to say and thought it was truth. We then realized, well, I knew at the moment that she opened her mouth, in my opinion, she was not telling the truth. But it took a while for people to realize that what she was portraying as truth was her truth. This was when the Archbishop of Canterbury had to come out and say, no, I didn't officiate at a wedding 3 days before, and things like that, that people started to realize that that Ace of Swords that she was wielding and she was attacking the royal family with so viciously was actually an Ace of Swords in reverse. It took a while for it to swing around and for the real truth of this interview to come out. So it did damage. That Ace of Swords really did damage at the time. A lot of people were fooled by it. A lot of people bought what she was selling. So let's see now. We've got this card here as our underlying energy of being at this crossroads, this turning point as far as the interview went way back when. How about now? Was it a turning point that set Harry and Meghan on a very negative path? Or was it something that they felt and they still feel served them well and universe agrees? We're going to ask that question now. And we've got the Six of Wands. They still feel that it was worth doing. They still feel victorious. They still feel that it was their moment where they got one over the royal family. All their grievances, their mutual grievances. And this kind of energy, Six of Wands, it's the victory card. Six of Wands, it's showing off. It's narcissistic energy as well, can be in the Six of Wands. That energy explains to some degree how the two of them are still together and why they are still together, because they still feel that they were wronged by the royal family and it binds them together, that sense of grievance. He's got outrageous grievance in this Ten of Pentacles in reverse. Absolutely outrageous grievance. Nobody wants to hear it. Nobody's interested in what either of them to have to say. But they have their sense of grievance. We've got it in the Five of Cups. The sense of being cut off, isolated, not included on her side. His side, awareness of damage. But still this sense of triumph, of smugness. I did it. I said what I wanted to say. I think he, in particular, and this is my personal opinion, I think that he has wanted to say these things for a very long time. And she came along and she offered him the opportunity at this crossroads to go for it. And he took it. And Jenny Bond is right. And as I say, she's a sugar. I think she's quite tapped in. I think she's quite connected to sources close to the Sussexes. I think she's absolutely right when she says that they're okay with the outcome of this interview. They're still okay with it now. That for me is really quite shocking to see that show up in the energy. I think any right-thinking person would be mortified and would be in sackcloth and ashes right now, repenting. But neither of these two, in my opinion, is a right-thinking person. That is the reading. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again tomorrow.